Alright, let's dive into something that's been making waves lately. ICE's plan to equip every field officer with body cameras by the end of August. On the surface, it sounds like a step toward transparency, right? But personally, I think there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye. What makes this really interesting is the fine print. ICE gets to decide whether the public ever sees that footage. And that, my friends, is where things get complicated. First off, let's talk about why this matters. Body cameras are often framed as a tool for accountability, especially in law enforcement. But here's the thing, if the agency itself controls the release of the footage, how much accountability are we really talking about? In my opinion, this isn't just about transparency, it's about control. ICE is essentially saying, we'll record it, but we'll decide if you get to see it. That raises a deeper question, who's really being served by this policy? Now, let's break down the justification ICE gave. Acting Director David J. Venturella said the restrictions are to protect investigations and privacy. Fair enough, those are valid concerns. But here's where I get skeptical. Why is ICE's policy so much more restrictive than others? For example, the provision that footage can be withheld or delayed after serious injuries or deaths in custody feels like a red flag. What many people don't realize is that other agencies often release footage in such critical cases, even if it's part of an ongoing investigation. So, why is ICE taking a different approach? From my perspective, it feels like they're prioritizing self-preservation over public trust. Another detail I find fascinating is the timing of this announcement. It comes on the heels of 2 fatal shootings by ICE officers, one in Maine and another in Houston. Neither incident was recorded because the officers didn't have body cameras. If you take a step back and think about it, this rollout feels like damage control. ICE is under scrutiny, and this move could be seen as an attempt to rebuild their image. But without clear guidelines on when footage will be released, it's hard to see this as a genuine commitment to accountability. What this really suggests is that body cameras alone aren't enough. It's not just about having the footage, it's about who controls it and how it's used. Personally, I think this policy highlights a broader issue in law enforcement, the tension between transparency and institutional power. ICE is essentially saying, trust us, we'll handle it. But trust is earned, not given, especially when there's a history of controversial incidents. One thing that immediately stands out is the comparison to Customs and Border Protection, CBP. CBP hasn't released footage of a fatal shooting in Minneapolis earlier this year, citing an ongoing investigation. Sound familiar? It's almost like these agencies are taking a page from the same playbook. What this tells me is that the issue isn't isolated to ICE, it's systemic. And that's a much bigger problem. So, where does this leave us? In my opinion, the rollout of body cameras is a step in the right direction, but it's just the first step. The real test will be how ICE handles the footage, especially in high-stakes situations. Will they prioritize accountability, or will they protect their own interests? That's the million-dollar question. And honestly, I'm not holding my breath for a clear answer anytime soon. What do you think? Is this a genuine move toward transparency, or is ICE just putting a band-aid on a much bigger issue? Let me know in the comments below. And if you take anything away from this, let it be this: transparency isn't just about having the tools, it's about how you use them. Until next time, keep questioning, keep analyzing, and stay curious.